Hello, and once again, hello to yet another PlayStation Education. I am joined by none other than James, the yellow dart Bassette. And I am, of course, and for will ever remain your Jamin near and dear to your heart Bassette. Here we're going to talk about something that is both amazing and sad at the same time. We're here to talk about, of course, about about PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Yep.
Now, this game came out in November of last year, so the game isn't even a year old yet.
Nope.
And they've already started canceling the future DLC and the planned stages and extra characters and all that kind of stuff they had planned because the game didn't sell very well.
That's a shame.
Including digital copies, which I own a digital copy. The game sold a little over 1 million copies, which isn't too shabby, all things considered, but not nearly as much as the franchise they're trying to emulate, which of course was
Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers, which is a some would call a system seller.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smash is pretty good. Now this game has a very, on the surface, has a very similar premise. It is a title fight style game, 4 players. One of those pulled back views, kind of platformy looking views of 4 players. Very simple controls. You got your up, your back, your down, your forward of the 3 different face buttons, plus X to jump. Very similar controls, but the games are very different, aren't they?
I'd say so.
So let's start with the biggest difference, of course. This has no Nintendo characters, of course.
Well, no.
It's all PlayStation characters. Now, there was a lot of PlayStation characters they couldn't get a hold of because they no longer own the rights to them. The Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, which of course is owned by Warner Brothers, not by... Universal, and not by Sony. As Colin already pointed out, they were probably sold... they probably sold at a yard sale in a little 10-cent box.
Aww.
A little sad looking Crash Bandicoot Spyro.
None of the Final Fantasy characters.
None of the Final...
They get, well, obviously, and that means like Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I was like,
yeah. Unfortunately, Square Enix didn't want to play ball. Unfortunately, that would have been awesome. Mm-hmm. Getting Sora, Cloud, Sephiroth.
I would have been Cloud.
Cloud. Now, of course, it did have a lot of characters, though. Now, some characters that people probably normally never will play, like Totoro the cat, or Hachi, Fat Princess, but some pretty awesome characters.
I know I'm not being mean to her. Her name is legit Fat Princess.
Off of the PlayStation Network game, Fat Princess. I, of course, normally play as Jak and Daxter from the illustrious Jak and Daxter. But, of course, love Jak and Daxter. I used to try to play as Nathan Drake. His specials are really hard to pull off. We'll talk about specials here in a minute. James, though, played a character I didn't think he would pick because I didn't know you knew the character. And turns out he didn't know the character. He just picked it because he looked cool.
Yeah. Again, I noticed he had a sword. And for me, in Smash Brothers, I was always Link. Link's my man.
Now here he was Raiden from the... Let's go over. It was Raiden from the Metal Gear Solid series. More specifically, this Raiden is the Metal Gear Revengeance Rising. Yes.
Sure.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, version of the character. Very similar to the Metal Gear Solid 4 version of the character. Not the little whiny boy that he was in Metal Gear Solid 2, but I actually really like Metal Gear Solid 2. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Alrighty. So carrying on, the other great characters such as Kratos from God of War, Cole McGrath from Infamous. You never got to play Infamous, did you? That is such a disappointment. I am definitely gonna make sure you get Infamous Second Son. Right. I love the Infamous games so much. Talking about good open world games. Talking before about Grand Theft Auto. I enjoyed Infamous way more than I enjoyed Grand Theft Auto. I love Infamous so much.
Probably because there ain't no prostitutes for you to beat up and get your money from.
True. It's an open world sandbox game where you play a superhero. Think Grand Theft Auto, but instead of shooting hookers, you're flying around with your superpowers and blowing up bad guys.
Woo!
With RPG elements.
Woo!
And lots of secrets.
Woo!
Lots of side quests.
Woo!
Comic book style presentation.
Woo!
And lots of booze.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. And lots of other characters from girl from Heavenly Sword. They got Daniel Fortescue from Medieval. They got some classic characters in that. Proper the Rapper from the old Proper Rapper games on PlayStation 1. Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal,
That's weird.
but not nearly as deep of roster as we would hope from Sony. Sony's got a lot of great characters and a lot of great franchises.
I was to say, like, they don't have very many memorable ones either. I mean, only a handful of them I even knew, and some of them I never even played their games.
Yeah. So that was already a strike against the game, unfortunately, before it even came out. Just not the roster people were hoping or expecting. So moving on, another big difference in this game is mechanically, it looks like it plays like Smash Brothers. Once you actually get down to the minutia of it, it plays very different. Now, I was telling James before, the game was designed by a lot of veterans in the fighting game industry, including a former Street Fighter II champion turned game designer for Capcom. He's helped design Street Fighter IV before moving over to PlayStation to finish up this game. He worked for the company Superbot, which was created specifically to make this game. Superbot is still around, but they're no longer owned by Sony. Kind of out in the ether. I really hope that they're working on a sequel to this game. They probably aren't, though. Rest in peace, Superbot. I know you're out there somewhere making fighting games. But part of that prodigy of having people that come from the fighting game scene was the game definitely played like it was made by fans of fighting games.
Yeah.
The whole thing felt very tournament fighter. Felt very structured. The way kills work in this game is you can punch somebody a billion times. They can fall off the stage a billion times. They won't die.
Is there a way to fall off the stage?
No, there's always a way to catch you.
So obviously in Smash Brothers, you just hit them until they get a bunch of damage, and then once they have a lot of damage, the more chances you have of actually knocking them off the platform and make them, lose one of their lives. This game, nah, you don't do that.
When you hit them, what you do is you get a certain percent to your meter at the bottom. You can charge up the meter once, and you can do a special move twice, a more powerful, different special move, or 3 times your ultimate move. These is what allow you to kill your enemies, and you get points based upon kills. Mm-hmm. A kill is worth 3 points. A death is worth -1 point.
Yep.
We like to play stock, though.
Yeah.
Stock lives.
It's more fun.
Yeah, it's more fun. I really do enjoy stock lives. So the game has a very different feel from the beginning. The tactics that are used, at least in Smash Brothers, the idea is you rack up the percentage, you get them into a compromising position, and then you knock them off. Here it's very different. You build up your super. Is Super 1 good enough? I don't know, maybe you have to go to Super 2. You never saw your Super 3, did you?
No, I've used it a couple times.
A couple times? Well, there's another kind of small complaint against the game is that normally Super 1 and 2, especially for a team like we were doing, are good enough to get the job done. There's very few situations where you really need to wait to Super 3.
Yeah, plus, for my character, Super 3 is kind of disappointing. He's like, playtime is over. And then everyone's hiding in cardboard boxes. So depending on how many people you fight against, it's like I'm fighting against 3. There are 6 cardboard boxes, which means 3 of them are just empty. I go up and I slice them. If someone's in it, they pop out, and if you hit them again, they die. And if I go through and kill them all fast enough, I can hit them again after they come back.
Before it'd be 4 or 5 kills out of it.
Yeah, but it's kind of lame. So I usually end up just using my first super, but of course I get frustrated with that sometimes.
You miss a lot.
Yeah, so I go to the second one, which works fine.
Yeah, there you go. So there is a bit of strategy to the game on when you use supers, what kind of supers you got, whether you're playing team match or you're playing free for all.
What have you.
And the game actually has a decent amount of modes. Now this is where it's most disappointing for me. Like I said, up until this point, well, first let's talk about some of the online stuff. You didn't get to see this. You can definitely tell it's made by fighting game fans. It's definitely got a good fighting game scene. Every 30 days, or about a month, they have a season. And you play for those 30 days, and you build up ranks during the season. When the season's over, your online stats restart back to 0. But depending on how high you get a belt, and that belt determines what special titles you unlock. So for me, I got no titles because there's no one who owns this game, so it's hard to play online, especially in South Korea. There's no one who owns the game. But you get a certain amount of wins, and you get these belts. You get different titles. So you can get, like, for instance, right now my name's just displayed as Vivi Damage. That's my PSN name. Look me up on PSN. But
yeah, none of you.
Not none of you. But if you unlock these titles, it could be, badass Vivi Damage of death or super Vivi Damage of destruction, and you get different titles. Those just made up ones, but you can get different. You can get different titles and you can switch them around. And there's well over 100 titles you can get. And it's a little reward for doing well. And since there's certain top tier names that you can only get if you get the highest belt, just by looking at someone's title, you can tell, oh, in the previous season, they got a black belt, or they got, whatever. So it's actually a pretty decent reward system. And like I said, since it restarts every season, you don't have to worry about one guy having a trillion score and you not being able to catch up. Everyone starts back to zero. It's a very interesting system. Obviously, was definitely built from the ground up for the tournament fighting scene in mind. And unfortunately, that means they had to skip in other areas. Where they skimped was in single player. Each single player character has a story mode.
Yeah.
But it's only six. Was it 6 fights?
Something like that, yeah. And it's super lame because you have one like cutscene at the beginning, then you fight.
It's not really a cutscene. It's just like moving panels.
Yeah. So we have a picture of him. Boom. He's over.
I'm saying something brooding, and I'm saying something serious. I'm doing another serious pose. I heard about this fighting tournament. I'm gonna go there and fight.
Okay.
That's it.
And then you fight one person. Then you fight 2 people at the same time. Then you fight 2 people at the same time. Then you fight 3 people at the same time. 3 people at the same time. And then so you get to your rival in the game. They did a super bad job at.
This was a great idea in concept. Every person in the game has a rival, and some of the rivals actually kind of make sense. Like
Daxter and Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. There you go. Like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. That makes perfect sense because they were kind of rivals at the time. But then some of the rivals make no sense at all. Like, was it Fat Princess and Cole and the other? No.
Cole was my guys.
That was one of the Cole. Yeah, Cole and...
Yeah, they for whatever reason, it's like a random idea is they decided to have Cole and Dark Cole, both the same.
Yeah, good Cole, evil Cole.
Quite different characters.
Yeah. Because in Infamous, you can choose light side or dark side.
Well, obviously, but the point being, they have both of them in there instead of having a custom made. You can be Cole, or you change it to Dark Cole. No, they're literally 2 different characters.
Yeah.
And instead of having them as rivals, which would make a little more sense. What they did. Yeah, Dark Cole was like the Fat Princess rival, and Cole was my character's rival.
It didn't really make any sense. It was kind of dumb. And that pretty much sums up the whole rival system. It sounds really cool on paper. How they implemented it was kind of dumb.
You get one this one's actually cutscene them sort of talking, and they get into a fight,
and that's it. They could have built so much around this rival system. They could have.
Oh, what it could have been.
Yeah, the single player is super skimped on. Obviously, they didn't have enough time, or most likely they didn't have enough will. They didn't really care about the single player too much. But outside of that, there's challenges. Mm-hmm. There's 22 challenges per character, and there's 20 characters, plus the DLC characters bring to like 26 characters. Plus, on top of that, you have general challenges. And each of those have 3 different difficulty levels. There's well over 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 different challenges in this game. That is deep. That's a lot of challenges. But it's not very pretty. Presentation in this game is super lacking, and it's sad because graphically it looks just fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, obviously I think a lot of people compared it to Smash Brothers, and that's kind of an unfair comparison because Smash Brothers has been around forever and they've been able to build and make it better.
If you remember, the first Smash Brothers only had 8 characters. It was kind of...
To start with, you're going to unlock more, obviously. Yeah. You only start with 8, yeah. Really? I think one of the reasons is Smash Brothers have a lot more iconic characters.
Yeah.
It's what we grew up with and everything. Obviously, Nintendo's been around a lot longer than Sony.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the characters, I thought would have they've told a better selection if they were able to get all the people they wanted. I feel like that would have brought in a lot more people.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they didn't try to completely rip off and copy.
Yeah, they tried to do their own thing.
And I like it. It is fun. So it's a shame that not more people thought that.
Yeah. The game didn't do too bad review-wise. I would say it was high 70s. High 70s, low 80s, which is where I'd put it. I'd probably put it at a solid 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5.
7.5.
Yeah. So somewhere around that genre. Really disappointed in the single-player mode, really disappointed in the presentation, but outside of that, the game is pretty fun. Yeah. If it just had more characters, a better single-player. So, this game you can find for super cheap. PSN has had on sale a couple times now for like $20. So it hasn't even been out a year yet. Kind of shows you where the game's at. So if you ever see it off of PSN for $20 and you like this genre of game, I would recommend it. But of course, like we do with all these, ABC, A, did you like it?
Yes.
B, would you recommend it?
Yes.
C, to whom?
Anyone who likes this kind of platform fighting games. Like, really, I mean, it's just because it's not the best one ever doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, there you go. This has been another PlayStation Education. Please join us next time. Hopefully get a couple more of these out before you have to leave. And until next time, stay safe.